Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bonnie's 2024 Winter Series on transforming stress into calm and confusion into clarity by embodying key embryological and neural pathways. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to be together. We have an amazing mix of people here who have joined us for past online series, and those of us those who are joining us for the first time. Let us know in the chat which of the past online series you've attended, or if this is your first time joining us here. It takes a team to make Bonnie's classes possible. We're going to take a couple of minutes to introduce everyone who's working behind and in front of the scenes. My name is Basha. I'm the project manager for Bonnie's events, videos, and books. I'm also Bonnie's daughter. We have Bonnie, headliner, and Len.
Hi, I'm Bonnie's husband, Len. I'm her administrative director. I'll be behind the camera so you won't see me, but I welcome you all. It's great to have everybody here from wherever you are.
And yesterday was our 54th anniversary. This man is all right.
So is this lady.
Blessed. Thanks, Len.
We have Isa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isa, Bonnie's son. If you receive an email from us, it's probably from me. Welcome, and we look forward to sharing with you.
And Amardeep.
Hello, my name is Amardeep, head of Stream Guru Productions. I've been working with Bonnie and team for almost 4 years now, providing tech support. It's been a blast, and I'm happy to be back in class.
And we have a new team member here today. We have Mike.
Hi, everyone. My name's Mike. I work with Amardeep for Steam Guru Productions. I'm here helping out doing tech support. It's my first time working with Bonnie and team, and I'm very excited to be here and be a part of all this.
Great. So in addition to hosting this class on Zoom, we are simultaneously broadcasting it on YouTube Live. Please go to the class on YouTube Live if you experience any issues in Zoom. I will post a link to the YouTube Live class in the Zoom chat in just a moment. You can also find the link to the YouTube Live class in the same email that has your Zoom link. If you have not already introduced yourself in the Zoom or YouTube live chats, please take a moment to do so now. We would love to know who's here and why you joined this course. We open each class 30 minutes early so that everyone can virtually mingle in the chat a little bit. And if you're able to, please join us for this pre-class time together. If you are joining the class in Zoom and have questions for Bonnie about the material she presents in class, please type them into the Q&A. And if you're joining on YouTube Live, please type your questions for Bonnie about the material in the chat there. Bonnie will take some time towards the end of class to answer as many questions as she can. Not answer, she respond to as many questions as she can. In Zoom, in addition to posting your questions in the Q&A, we also recommend you post them in the chat to share with other participants to read and to possibly respond to from their experience. The Zoom chat for each class will be made available to all participants. We have some guidelines for our chats and community. These are written on our 2024 Winter Series resources page. I'll post a link to that in the chats in just a moment. Our chats are a social place for public discussion about the material Bonnie presents. Please treat discussions with the same respect you would as if you were having them face-to-face. The chat and other spaces related to this series are shared community resources. The chat is a space for sharing your experiences, your thoughts, your questions about the material Bonnie is presenting. Thank you so much for respecting and following our community guidelines to collectively keep it a safe space for everyone. We do encourage you to communicate respectfully with Bonnie and each other through the chat. And as this is in a webinar format and we're not able to see you, it's a wonderful way to connect with each other if you want to, with each participant and us with you and you with Bonnie. Reading your comments and questions, reading the chats after class brings Bonnie a lot of joy. It helps her to connect a little more with you and to better prepare for the next class. As I said, the Zoom chat will be made available to all participants of the 2024 winter series. We will add the chat to each class in your account when the class recording is ready. If you're in Zoom, a reminder that if you want to share your chat message with everyone, you do need to change the drop-down menu setting to everyone before sending. Otherwise, it just goes to Bonnie and her team. And we see so many wonderful comments come in just to Bonnie and her team that are clearly meant for everybody. So we want to make sure that we can share this space. Let's see. Okay, so we wanted to acknowledge everyone, all of you who have joined us for this 2024 winter series. People have registered from 68 countries, over 6 continents. It's an amazing thing to be connected with each other in this way and this extraordinary circle around the globe. Our Pay from the Heart scholarship has allowed more than 1,500 people to register for this course. We put a map together to visually see what 68 countries looks like. If you would put that up on the screen, thank you. So take a minute to feel how we're all connected here, circling the earth. And share in the chat which of the 68 countries you're from. It's wonderful to see all of these countries come in the chat. Thank you, Amardeep and Mike. And that's it for the opening of the first class. Here's Bonnie. Enjoy.
Our circle has formed again in this moment. It's recorded for any moment. You taught me something I may have imagined, but never expected to experience. We can really connect through the space in a bloodful way. We circle the globe. Thank you for coming. Welcome, old friends, and now new friends. If this is your first time, this series is about embodiment. Embodying our body, consciousness, mind, emotion, perception, feeling, And hopefully this circle is a place of retreat, an hour and a half, where we leave things at the gate as we enter this space. To be with ourselves in a circle that surrounds and circles the earth. And I hope you'll let other people know who are interested. There's still some places that are not represented in this circle, but they're represented in other circles. But would be happy to have them join and bring their gifts. Clarity and calm. I'm probably the last person to have come into the world with clarity and calm. So it's been a good study. And one of the things that I found that I'm wanting to share in this series and carrying through more than 50 years, the thread, and almost 4 years in this Zoom land, words, how space holds the information. If this is your first time, maybe even not your first time, what meaning does that have? What is space? I first heard of it through yoga. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, and space. What is space? Air? No. And so that's, for more than 40 years, space entered into the more than 50 years of the study of the body, the mind. Mind, again, coming from having lived in Japan, where mindfulness had weight. We're here in the early 70s, it wasn't such a word in our culture in the US. So both of these terms have come from the East to me. Maybe they were here already, but I didn't know them. So in this circle, I hope everybody will bring what you have from your space in your body and in your culture, in your history, and through the ancestors, through the earth, through the sky. What is space? And may this be a safe space where we care about each other and can drop away the histories that separate us. So I'm going to begin with something that, if you've been around, you'll recognize. And that is, in the embryo, there are stages before the egg and the sperm, the gathering of the cell, the ball of cells. And then the ball flattens into a 2-layer disc. And this disc has 2 layers. It has a front endoderm and a back ectoderm. So if we put this in our body, we have a front body and we have a back body. And then these two layers, I've color-coded them yellow and blue. These two layers, this is not, what I'm sharing now is not in the textbook. It's from experience in the passage. It's not true, it's not true. It's an experience. The reason I'm saying that, because most of the textbooks speak about the middle body being created by the back body. But in terms of embodying that, I couldn't find it until I added the front body. Been sharing that for many years, but so front body, back body, create a middle body, which I've colored red. Now, when I say embodying, what I found, and this is not we're not going deeply into this, but there's in others, is that the back body created the form of the middle body, and the front body creates the flow. So the structure is from the back body, but the flow that allows the form to appear comes from the front body. And the middle body, according to the text, I'm going to put the others down, starts with what's called a primitive streak. And it starts at what is now the site of our perineal body, which is between the sits bones, the ischial tuberosities, and between the pubis, pubic symphysis, pubic disc, and the tail. So in that space, it's not exactly center, you have to find where it is. There is the perineal body. It's also called the central tendon of the pelvic diaphragm. The primitive streak, this is primitive streak, not a cord. It rises upward through the body, and out of that comes the notochord, the central axis. It's exactly between, I have a thing here. It's exactly in the middle between the two layers. You can't see it, of course, unless I bring it up higher. And it goes from the what's now our perineum, we didn't have it then, up to the stalk of the pituitary, which if you go like this, behind the bridge of your nose, you can look in the picture. That's the central axis. And that central axis creates the organizing unit of the embryo. So from that axis, things are in front, behind, to the right side, left side, diagonal. Everything is oriented spatially around this notochord. So apparently, something here knows that it is something because of its relationship to the notochord and its neighbors. So our body developed based on space, the calibrating of space, according to this central axis. which in yoga would be the Sushumna Nadi, for those of you who study. The notochord, meanwhile, is absorbed, and the place that it remained is the center of the discs of the vertebrae, in the bodies of the vertebrae. And this course is not about that, but you can look that up. We also have an embryology course. So this calibrating of this central axis. So for a moment, maybe close your eyes. I'll close mine. And this central axis, which is now space itself, everything around it, all the rest of our body, all the tissues are calibrated by the distance from this central axis, which is now space itself. And this we can't find from anybody else, that no one else can answer that question. It is for our perception of something which doesn't exist anymore. It's our heritage. And maybe, I don't know if you want to open your eyes again, but maybe that's our development. How do I want to say this? Either through genetics, through embryo, through in the womb, after birth, our experiences, injuries, whatever. Our, excuse me, our spaces become confused. That we've lost the orientation of our central axis, which isn't a structure anymore. So we're not limited by our structure. I don't know if I'm making sense, but our orientation is around something which doesn't exist now, but around which our body was created originally. So we're not prevented from feeling it. It exists in consciousness. And it's stable. We might be all kinds of ways, right? I can go like this, but that consciousness remains. It doesn't matter. That consciousness is still there. I don't know what to do. It's still there. So the actual positioning that we are in, it's still there. Whatever the path, that invisible, totally present central axis of the notochord, Sushumna Nadi. I'm going to ask for the first slide. I'll put these away. So, yeah, the first one, thank you. This illustration is one that I made just to give an image of the front body, the middle body, and the back body. So the endoderm gives rise to the gut tube, which gives rise also to the respiratory organs. So the front body is our nourishment system, our digestive organs, and our breathing, which provides our nourishment. The back body, the ectoderm, gives rise to the nervous system and the outer layer of skin. And in the last few years, I've become very interested in how the skin is the outer nervous system. The outer layer of skin is the outer layer of the nervous system, and how that interacts with the central nervous system, the spine and the brain, and the peripheral nervous system, the autonomic and sensory systems. The middle body gives rise to most of our structure, connective tissue. I may not say everything, but bones, muscles, ligaments, organs, fascia. The undifferentiated mesoderm, the stem cells. Many people look at the fascia as the, I don't want to say that the mesenchyme, the undifferentiated cells, are the beginning of the fascia. And then the heart and the vessels, the kidneys, the gonads, the spleen are the coming from the red. But the red is a combination of the nourishment and of the front body, and the back body is the protective consciousness of the nervous system, aware of what's going on the inside and the outside, and how we are the bridge, the outer layer of skin, the bridge between ourself and the outer world. So the middle body is created as a dialogue between nourishment of the front and protection from the back. So when we feel that we are not being nourished, we are not embodying our original nourishment. So to be nourished by others, to discover how we nourish ourselves. And when we are not protected from the outside, the base is how do we protect ourselves through embodying a back body. Obviously, we need the outer world. We can't survive without it. But what is our role to ourselves? And through the embryology, we can re-experience what we have already experienced. Now, the second slide, please. So this is early differentiation of the three-layer embryonic disc, and we're looking down upon it. Some of you have seen this many times, and maybe for some it's the first time. The front body, the endoderm, creates the yolk sac, and the back body creates the amniotic cavity. And the middle is showing the notochord in the middle, and then in the red on each side are is also mesoderm, and it divides into three different columns, which we are not going over in this class, but there are other places to find that. We're mainly focusing on the spatial relationship to the notochord. I think that's okay. Can you go to the next one, please? So this is looking at a longitudinal view. So you have the yolk sac and the endoderm front body in the front, and the ectoderm, the back body, and the amniotic cavity in the back. These are fluid filled. The yolk sac is full of fluid, and the amniotic cavity is full of fluid. Then around the embryonic disc is what's called extraembryonic mesoderm. And it developed actually before the internal or the intraembryonic, so that we have protection. If we think of muscles as a kind of a strengthening, there's this mesoderm around the outside that protects and holds and supports the developing body, consciousness, and before we actually develop the inside. Now, I'm going to point out here, again, there is another course on the heart, but see where the heart is? It's at the top, which would be our head part. And in this particular instance, just to notice where it is, these slides will be available for you to see and go back and study if you're interested. So I'm going to say more about this for when you do go back. All right, next one, please. So this is showing the invaginating of the yolk sac, how the yolk sac will become our gut tube. And meanwhile, the disc is folding top to bottom, head to tail, folding forward, and also side to side. We're becoming three-dimensional. And the connecting stalk will eventually come into form with the invaginating yolk sac will form the umbilicus. So as you see the folding, you see how the heart is coming around, and the heart is drawing the brain, the future brain, and the mouth, in a way, is guiding. We'll look at this more later in the course, how the oropharyngeal membrane, the future mouth, is where the front and the back body do not separate for the mesoderm, for the notochord. And then if you look at the bottom, you'll see the cloacal membrane, which is the future anus. The front body and the back body there, the endoderm and the ectoderm, do not separate. I'm not sure what to say, except that these are primary folding areas. And you see on the right, the right side, how the heart is moving into the body, and it's pulling the brain. And we're going to look at that. And then the next slide, please. So we're going through this, if these are not familiar to you, again, I suggest you go back and to embody what this is that happened that you have already experienced. So now you see where the heart is in the body, and the brain is has folded toward the heart. And then the drawing on the right, eventually the yolk sac is absorbed into the body. I think that's it for now. If you'll come back to me, please. Thanks. So how do I share this embodiment? I think I'm going to stand. You can stand with me if you like. A little bit cold, but let's see. So front body, feel your front body. In a class, we could feel each other's back body. So often people will push the back body forward or push the front body back or pull the front body back or push the back body forward to get some kind of a straight posture. If you do that, can you feel that your spine, which is a combination, I have to say this, the notochord, remember I said there was the side columns, the column that's right next to the notochord on either side, they will wrap around the notochord to create the vertebral column. And the notochord will remain in the discs, the center of the disc, the nucleus pulses. And meanwhile, the neural tube is behind. The paraaxial columns will also wrap around that. So this is blue now. There's, how do I say, two of them here, the notochord and the neural tube, so that the vertebrae are created, and the bodies of the vertebrae are in the front, and the vertebral arches in the back around the notochord, around the neural tube. So when we pull and push to create our vertical axis, can you feel that you've also squeezed your central axis? And then let it go. But if you let it go, then it's kind of wobbly, maybe. I don't know what you feel. I can't, putting words in your mouth is not a good thing. But what I'm suggesting is to feel your front body, just to go back to when you had a front body and you had a back body. And something from the perineum rose up in the center. It happened. So you can't create it. If you try to create it, you'll mess it up. Probably. Unless you can somehow, what is consciousness, to drop in to something which exists already, but is invisible. Things happen to us through our life and through our ancestors that are transmitted to us through the genes, epigenetics. They exist still in us. If you remember a childhood memory or a memory from yesterday, it doesn't exist anymore in itself, but it exists still in ourself. So this central axis front body, back body, and together they create the middle body. And what happens as the notochord is growing up from the primitive streak is withdrawing back to the place of origin. So there's a resilience and a lightness and a groundingness. They both exist. I would like to give it to you, but I can't. And I don't want to, because then you would miss out on how you found it. This groundingness is going back to the place of origin. And this rising upward are simultaneous. With this central axis that doesn't exist, but is always present. What is embodiment? And Basha must let you know on social media that I just had, and Lynn too, our 82nd birthdays. I have more living tissue now of ease than I have ever had. What is life? What is freedom? What is present? Before you go further, the next slide, I'm going to find my seat. It's a little chilly in here. Yes, that one. Thank you, Michael. So this is showing the development of the notochord. And the illustration on the left, you see the yolk sac. We're seeing a diagonal. And the yellow is the yolk sac, and it's been cut. And the red is the extra embryonic mesoderm that's going around the whole, also called a conceptus. The word conceptus includes the whole range of for the embryo and the fetus. But it's around the embryonic disc. And then we're looking through the back. So we're actually sitting in the amniotic cavity, and we're looking through it to where the primitive streak is arising. So the bottom would be where we now have our perineal body. And the primitive streak grows from the bottom. So the cells are added at the perineal body level. And the primitive streak ends at what's called the primitive node. And the notochordal process is originally a flat structure which curves around to make a tube and will become the notochord. The process is the pre-notochord. So what's interesting to me here is that the notochord is adding cells at the top, but the primitive streak is adding cells at the bottom. So you can feel it in any position, lying, sitting, standing. I will stand in a few moments to show what I feel in this, although I do it lying down also. But it's easier to demonstrate, I think, when we're standing. So as the notochord grows upward by adding cells at the top, the primitive streak withdraws and the primitive node back to the place of origin, so that the notochord will extend from the perineum, the perineal body, to the stalk of the pituitary. We'll be looking at that process another time. So, excuse me. So then if we look at the illustration on the right, we can see how the vertebrae are developing by the paraaxial column on each side of the notochord, wrapping around the notochord. And at the very top, the wrapping creates the basilar portion of the occipital bone, so that the base of the skull, the occipital base, is actually part of the spine, embryologically. That's very profound, because so many of us have difficulties between the occiput and the first cervical vertebrae, but they are really not separate embryologically in how they arose. So again, these will be available for you to see as many times as you want, for as long as you want. So, but this will give you a little bit for our exploration today. All right, bring it back to me, please. My feet in there. Thing is, I want to be closer. So if you bring, first I have to reestablish my own felt sense of my notochord or the central channel. So if you, for those of you that this is new, if you practice on your own as well, Google on the computer, internet, or look at a book to find the placement inside of where your central axis ultimately will go through. But the notochord, there's a place, and we'll be looking at this further in the course. There's a place where we can rest our brain. There's like a stalk there. We'll be looking more at that. Anything else I wanted to share there? Rather than having to feel, where does my head go? And even if I'm like this, it's still here. So that whatever our shape is, we're not limited by it. Or if we choose another shape, we don't have to break, I don't want to stay there very long, our central axis. See, now I don't know where to go, but my central axis, wherever I am, I still have resilience, and my brain can still rest, rather than where finding that place from which the rest of the body consciousness is calibrated. Any position. Where are you in relationship to the consciousness of your central axis that is invisible and no longer exists in flesh, but it still guides our consciousness, or can? So now I'd like to, there are several things, but I'm going to let one thing go so we have time for something else. If you can stand, I suggest you do so. If you can sit, I suggest you sit. If you can lie down, I suggest you lie down. Whatever of those positions are right for you now, that's what I suggest. Standing will help in terms of gravity, because we can go through our whole body. But it doesn't control our consciousness. It informs us. So maybe I'm going to have my feet wider in the beginning, and shift your weight to one side so that that has the gravity line. So it has the gravity line. And maybe once you see what I'm doing, what I'm suggesting, then close your eyes. But so then we come back to center, then shift so that you have gravity line. And then eventually, as you explore wider, become narrower, so that the shifting is in the pelvic half. It's not shifting this way, but feeling that this has weight, more weight than this side. And then to center, and then more weight on this side. And eventually, it's a micro movement. The gravity line, center, gravity line, and then back to center. The rain stick. it's helpful for me to feel, well, if I shift here, back to center. And then shift the So we are feeling, well, I don't know, I am feeling how this side developed in relationship to the notochord and in relationship to the cells of its neighbors. Cells did not come from over here to here. The cells that developed in each part of the body developed by its place in relation to the central axis and in relation to its neighbors. They didn't cross around the notochord to develop. The ones in the front developed in the front. The ones in the side, the back, the diagonals, they developed in their place, including the brain. Cell to brain on the same side. That's the theme of this class today, is how this brain half developed with this body half in relation to the notochord and its neighbors and the blood supply. They didn't come over here and say, oh, I want to come over here. There is this cell to brain on the same side, including the cells of the brain, not the brain as the brain, but the brain as cells. This is so profound, and over many decades, I've worked with people who've had strokes, for example, who didn't get better. And that's years later. And within one session, there can be a change going cell to brain on the same side. The injury in a stroke is in the brain, brain to cell on the opposite side. And we'll be looking at that further, but today the theme is cell to brain on the same side. For example, if somebody has a stroke on the right side of the brain, the left side will be affected. But meanwhile, the left brain, first of all, the whole body is affected, but in terms of the majority, is okay. And its opposite side is okay. Quotes. So if the problem is on this side, and this is the problem, I start with this side, the unaffected side, to feed the information into the injured brain, and then to work with the affected limb or affected side into the brain that's not affected, which it is, but I'm saying unaffected to make it simple. It's amazing what can happen. So from that, I learned from myself, you don't have to have a stroke in order for this to happen. But cell to brain on the same side is our theme today. Next week, we'll look at brain to cell on the opposite side that comes through movement. One comes through relationship to the notochord and relationship to the neighbors. The other comes through crossing the midline. The midline being the notochord or the central axis. So what I'm going to suggest is that this week, I'm going to put this down. There's several things to practice, but in particular, that you practice shifting your weight. So the grab with your eyes closed, to feel the unity of this half of your brain and this half of your body, shifting to center over the central axis and shifting to the other side, feeling the added weight of gravity, giving you an extra sense of weightedness. Gravity gives us weight, space gives us lightness. This is about feeling the weightedness of this half of your body. Eyes closed and back to center. And then shifting. And in the beginning, if you want, can be big. Shifting. Eventually, or starting this way and getting bigger, so that you know where you are in space and in your inner space in relation to your axis. If you're sitting, you can do the same thing, except your legs are bent and you're on your sits bones, your ischial-tuberosity. So really feeling that'll be great to give you your sits bones. And if you're lying, you can do it on any position, but if you lie on your side, the underside naturally increases in postural tone. It just does. And then if you lie on your other side, this side will have more gravity tone, except it's not gravity, but it's tonal, which is the same, different stimulus, but similar response. And this will have more lightness. The same way this has more gravity, condensation, and this has more expansiveness. All right. I think we've gone to the half hour. There are any questions? I would love to hear them, not to answer, hopefully. If I ever answer your question, let me know, then I'll apologize. Hopefully a question creates more questions. Sometimes I put this on backwards, so yeah. It's a little chilly. Okay, Basha, did anybody write in anything?
No, we had no questions today. I'm just kidding. We have lots of questions. The first one is, as a newcomer to this approach, can you say anything to help me understand how the embryo information informs or shapes the body-mind approach? I feel like I'm missing a basic connection about this.
Wow. What a great question. It's one that I've carried many, 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 many years. I don't know if I said I won't answer it because I couldn't answer. I didn't start with embryology, so I don't know your background. but I will give you what created the moment, literally the moment that I began to perceive embodiment in a different way. I was taking a class with Andre Bernard in 1966, the beginning of 66, in New York City. And Andre Bernard was a student of Barbara Clark, who was a student of Mabel Ellsworth Todd, who wrote The Thinking Body. This is recording, or somebody will type it. So Andre gave me a pelvis. I have one. I had one, but it's not there. I don't know why. I was holding the pelvis in my hands like this, and the sits bones, the ischial tuberosities, were in my hand. He said, feel the sits bones in your hands. He said, now feel your own. That changed my life, because I was already very knowledgeable, still becoming more knowledgeable through my life about anatomy. Feel your own. No one had ever said that to me before. It was always about out there somewhere, including cadavers and cats. And I was working in hospitals, other people. Feel your own. So many years of studying, feeling my own, whatever. First bones, muscles, ligaments, organs, blood. How do I feel my blood? So it went on and on and on and on. And how do I feel sympathetic nerves, parasympathetic nerves, all of these things. And finally, I got to the embryology. How do I feel my egg sitting in the ovary, my mother's ovary, when she was an embryo? And my grandmother was the conduit to the outer world. And how do I feel my sperm from my dad? It's like they don't live very long. Movement, goal-oriented, not knowing where they're going, but they know when they get there that that's what they were going for. And they met this quietude and this drive. I'm more sperm, by the way. I've had to learn about my egg. How do we feel consciousness? So if this is your first time, you're going in the reverse, but I don't know your background. But we've experienced it all ourselves. It's a remembering process, not a creating process. I hope that's helpful in creating more curiosity. It's a practice. It's totally a practice with every breath. Enjoy. It's not something you have to do. You want to. How strong is your desire? That'll be your guide. Thanks for the question. I still hold it. It didn't go away. Okay, Masha.
Okay. So we've had a few questions come in about people experiencing more ease on one side than the other in this exploration, that their central axis maybe feels more spacious when they're oriented to one side versus the other, and would like to know what they can do to support the side of their body that maybe feels more constriction or tightness or discomfort, whatever the word is for them.
I think, feel. Probably most of us have one side that's more comfortable and one side that's more uncomfortable. I can't say that everybody has it, but the people that I know that has happened, the other people I didn't meet. Words. A lot of the comfort and discomfort has to do a lot with flow. It's not like just this and this is like this. It's like how can we perceive flow through the tissue? And certainly the breath is one way to breathe through. Another is like the rain stick, is to somehow merge the sound, or a bean bag where the beans are falling, or just pouring water slowly. Or another exploration would be to take a dry sponge, especially a natural one, but an artificial one will work too, but it's nice to feel the natural, how stiff it is, hard. And then just dip it in a little water, like this water here, just tap a little bit. And in the beginning, the bead of water won't go into the sponge. The sponge has to be wet to be absorbable. Isn't that interesting? So how just touching, and then this takes time. I have to confess, I've never done a full sponge. I did not yet have the patience. I won't say I will never have the patience, but this takes a very, very, very long time. And I maybe get a small portion of the sponge, could take an hour to actually absorb the water in this very gentle way. How long does it take before it even starts to absorb? Then you have to wait, watching paint dry. This is a little more interesting. And then gradually, very slowly, the sponge becomes soft, pliable, and resilient. So it's the same with our tissue. Parts of my body have been numb. I didn't feel them at all, except to realize that numb is a feeling. I do feel it, it feels numb. And internally, that consciousness of what it is to absorb, to become pliable and resilient. and then to let it communicate. It's an enormously long practice, life. And we will be looking at this through the series. The cell to brain on the same side is one of our major themes, and brain to cell on the other side. Most of us know about brain to cell on the other side because we've been taught that due to people who've had strokes. Cell to brain on the same side gives the brain the information. Brain to cell on the other side, the brain is directing. We know that. We know how to direct with our brain. But cell to brain on the same side, our brain is learning. It's learning, not directing. So the side that's not as comfortable let some of it flow and become resilient, and maybe just that much. And I'll be very, very interested if anyone wants to share with me your process. It's not either on the chat or on the other YouTube or through email. I'm very, very interested in you and what you bring to the circle in which we hold peace for ourselves and for each other. And it would be nice if the world could absorb it from us. But that's not our focus. Our focus is our own absorption. Who sits in this place? And how do we sit to hold each other? It's possible. Yeah. In order to feel what is difficult requires that we feel the difficulty and absorb it. To find freedom, compassion, and wisdom. So it's not like Basha.
You ready for the next one? This flows into the last question in your response. That when somebody has a weakness or a tightness or chronic condition on one side of their body, do you suggest beginning with cell to brain on the side that has the quote issue or the other side?
It's a great question. For this week's class, I suggest you play with the other side, cell to brain, so that brain half has more information with which to direct the side that has the problem. On the other hand, if you do the other way, it's equally valid. Because ultimately we do both. But because of the class, if you're interested in that way, and I'm just saying it because I said I would say something to whatever you say. Play with, and then let me know. Let me know, oh, I did the other way, I got this great relief, and I did what you said, and nothing happened. Fine. I don't have the answer, but the theme is cell to brain on the same side. So do both. Do both, and then let us know what was helpful or not helpful. They'll be helpful in different ways. Yeah. Our sides are usually really different. So go with what your curiosity guides you to do. Yeah, then let me know. I'm really interested. Okay.
Okay, next question. We've had a couple of questions come in about what you mean by cell to brain. Somebody asked what cell or cells. Could you explain that a little bit further?
Why don't I try? One of the major practices in body-mind centering is cellular breathing. And I think Basha is going to give a list, if not now, later, of some of the complementary short or long videos that are available on my video channel. And hopefully there's one on cellular breathing. I don't know for sure. But cellular breathing is, take one hand and put it around the wrist of your other hand. You could put it anywhere, but I have to say something. And I have to stop talking to do it almost, is to feel with this hand, how you're breathing in your wrist, your lower forearm of your other hand. It's breathing. The cells are breathing. Their mitochondria in the cell, so subcellular breathing. They're the ones that convert sugar to ATP, the energy that guides the cell, like the gasoline, I guess. And then the cell itself is expanding and condensing. And we feel that in the lung, it's easy. But here, if I stop talking, I can get the words out. Close your eyes, and I'm going to do mine too. And pause to feel the breathing, very small, expanding and condensing of your wrist. It may or may not coincide with the breathing of your lungs. So if you focus on your breathing as your initiator, you may not feel it. It's to initiate your breathing in your wrist, your lower forearm. And that will affect your breathing in your lungs. So again, this recording is available to you to come back to for as long or as many times as you want. So we won't spend the amount of time that I would suggest you spend to do this now. And then you can place your hand, and if I go here, easier to feel, or your belly or your legs, go anywhere in your body and initiate a breath. If I say initiate, here you go. Do the same thing here. And that when the cells are breathing, the life force moves through them more freely. And when we are holding, then the life force is restricted. So everywhere we are breathing. And there are many places where we're not breathing so much, and we could just practice initiating breathing where we normally don't breathe. It's alive, it's breathing, but with difficulty. I have to get a tissue. I think that's probably it, Basha. What do you think?
Yes, that is. Thank you for your questions, everybody. Although Bonnie isn't able to respond to them all during class, she does read them after class, and your questions help her prepare for the next classes. If your question wasn't answered or responded to, or you have more questions about the material, study groups are available for everyone who has registered for the 2024 Winter Series live classes. The study groups are a wonderful opportunity to deepen your understanding around the material Bonnie presents. You can ask more questions, ask more personal questions, and it's a great way to interact with other participants in a more intimate way. There are currently 12 study groups available. Most are in English. There are study groups also offered in Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. Study groups are offered by organizations licensed to offer school for body-mind centering programs and body-mind centering professionals who have met specific educational and professional requirements, including graduating from a school from body-mind centering program. You can find a list of study groups available on our 2024 Winter Series resources page in the study group section. I'll post a link to that page in the chat in just a moment. If you'd like to more information about each study group, please contact the facilitator directly. And if you'd like to close your part of class, I will have a few announcements afterward.
I'm wider now than in the beginning. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye. Have a good week. A good life.
Great, thank you. Thank you for a wonderful class. And for a wonderful first class, and thank you to each of you for being here. We have added some study guide documents to your account to accompany the information Bonnie presented in class. This class was also recorded, and the recording will be made available to everyone who registered for the 2024 Winter Series. The recording will be made available through our website. Your registration includes unlimited lifetime access to the recordings. You can watch them as many times as you'd like and whenever you would like. The Zoom chat from today will be added to your accounts when the class recording is ready. We will email you when the class recording is ready. It typically takes us 1 to 2 days to have it prepared for you. We will also add English language captions to the class recording when we receive them from the captioning company. We have a page, which I've mentioned a few times in class today, called the 2024 Winter Series Resources. It's a page that lists important information for participants of the Winter Series. You can find things like how to access class recordings and materials, information about study groups, our chat and community guidelines, links to the free resources, including supplementary videos. I will add the video on cellular breathing to that free resources list after class today. And we will continue to add to the resources page as the series continues. We also have a 2024 Winter Series frequently asked questions page and a general frequently asked questions page. Many of the questions that we receive can be found on one of these 3 pages. And we will include links to all 3 pages in the email we send you after class. Our emails sometimes go to spam or promotions folders rather than inboxes. So now that the series has started, we will be emailing you more often. Please check your spam folder, and if you have a Gmail account, your promotions folder as well. We send you an email with Zoom links 24 hours before class, 2 hours before class. We'll send you an email after class, and then an email when the class recording is ready. Registration for Bonnie's 2024 Winter Series is still open, and our Pay from the Heart scholarships are still available. As I mentioned at the beginning of the class, our Pay from the Heart scholarships have allowed more than 1,500 people to come to this course who may otherwise not have been able to. We will be keeping the Pay from the Heart scholarship open, and we're still accepting applications. We would like everyone who wants to study with Bonnie in this series to be able to, regardless of financial situation. This is something that we've been able to do since the start of the pandemic in 2020. Our Pay from the Heart scholarships offer assistance based on what people are able to pay. Please share this information with your communities. Everybody is welcome, regardless of financial situation. Our Pay from the Heart scholarship, it's a community project. We're looking at how we can all support one another as individuals and as a community. If you would like to help support the registration of those who need the scholarship to attend this series, you can do so on our Support the Scholarship page on our website. I'll put a link to that in the email we send you after class. And that is it for class 1. Please stay for a few more minutes. We'll put some of this information on the screen. You also have a little longer to communicate with Bonnie and each other in both of the chats. It was wonderful to be back with you again, to be with new people, to be with old friends, and we look forward to being with you again next week on February 1st. Take care.